A Pack with the Sun, Supplementary Reader. Hi children, good morning everyone. Welcome back to our English class. Today's class we are going to learn about a story, that is chapter 4, The World Clock Shop. Okay children, first I will read out the text lines and then later I will summarize the story. Let's see the text lines. Christmas Eve had arrived. As last-minute shoppers were going home, a thick, white sheet of snow lay over Salt Lake City, USA. Yet the lights were still burning in the old clock shop as Ray, its old deaf owner, worked on a clock he had sold that day. Having finished his work, Ray stood up and was on his way to the back room when a cold rush of air from the front door hit the back of his neck. He turned to meet a last-minute shopper, but his old wise eyes told him that this was not a shopper. He saw two men, one in his 20s, the other closer to 50. The younger man remained at the door. The older man approached the counter with no sign of friendliness in his eyes. Ray was able to hide his growing fear as he slowly pushed a notepad and a pencil across the counter. He smiled at the unfriendly face, then pointed to his ears and shook his head from side to side. A quick look of surprise changed the man's face as he studied the notepad, then turned and said something to his friend. Ray used the chance to look closely at the man, paying attention to the shape of a gun and a restless hand in the man's right coat pocket. Anger boiled within him, but it was kept down by an inner voice that said, "Be still." He wrote on the notepad, "May I help you?" For the first time, the older man looked directly at Ray and smiled. A cruel mocking smile. They both understood why he was there, why his friend remained at the door. They looked like men who were down on their luck and were now ready to try something they would later be sorry about. The clocks ticked on. Ray calmly wrote another message. "Have you come to pick up a clock or watch?" Then he pointed to the loan board filled with the hanging clocks and pocket watches. He was not a bandcracker, but at the same time couldn't say no to the needy people who placed their old watches or clocks before him for anything they could get. He loaned more than he should. They would be there when the owners wanted them back, at the same price he had paid, with no interest. Then the older man seemed to feel a little easier, took out his hand from his pocket and quickly looked at the watch on his wrist. "How much will you give for me for this?" the man wrote. Ray noticed a little shame in the grey eyes looking at him. The watch was nothing special and it had great powers. It was something to exchange, a way out of a bad situation. Knowing that great need had brought the man to his shop in the first place, Ray asked, "How much do you need for it?" The reply came back on the notepad, "Whatever it's worth." Ray reached into his cash box, pulled out a $50 note and passed it into the man's hand. As they shook hands, Ray looked into the man's eyes. They seemed to say, "Thank you." They both knew the watch wasn't worth that much. Before turning to leave, the man wrote, "I will be back to pick it up as soon as I can. Merry Christmas." The little story entered on the half hour with the clocks striking all together. The timepieces, which had been looking on silently all the while, rang out their time with such a feeling that even Ray thought he could hear them. Their sweet musical message was filled with hope. The timeless message of peace on earth, goodwill towards all, was felt by the three men who stood in the old clock shop. Okay, children, next let's see the summary of the story. Okay, children, listen the summary carefully. It was Christmas Eve. The shoppers were going home. The lights were still burning in the old clock shop. Its owner was Dave. His name was Ray. He was working in a clock shop. And the work being over, Ray stood up. Then just two men entered his shop. One of them was in his 20s. The other man was about 50 years of age. Ray looked at them. The younger man remained at the door. The old man came to the counter. There was no friendliness in his face. This made Ray think that the visitor was not really a shopper. Ray offered him a notepad and pencil. By making sign, Ray told him that he was deaf and dumb. The surprised old man turned back and said something to his young companion. In the meantime, Ray had seen that the man had a gun in his pocket. Obviously, they had come to rob Ray of his money. Controlling his anger, Ray wrote on the notepad, "May I help you?" The old man now looked into Ray's eyes and smiled. It was a cruel, mocking smile. Ray wrote again, "Have you come to pick up a clock or watch?" with a gesture. Ray told him that he gave loans to the needy against their watches. Ray was not a pawnbroker, yet he could not say no to the needy. When they placed old watches or clocks before him, he loaned more than he should. This seemed to give the old man an idea. He showed his wristwatch and wrote on the paper, "How much will you give me for it?" Ray saw that it was cheap watch, yet he felt it could help both of them to get out of a bad situation. In this sense, it had great powers. So he asked the man, "How much do you need for it?" The reply came back, "Whatever it's worth." Ray gave the man a $50 note. The man was thankful. It was at this moment that the unfriendly face of the visitor became truly friendly. Both of them knew that the watch was not worth that much. Before leaving, the man wrote, "I will be back to pick it up as soon as I can. Merry Christmas." And then later, the story ended peacefully. As he pleased by this situation, all the clocks in the shop rang to announce the half hour. All the three men present there felt the message. The message was peace on earth, goodwill towards all. Okay, children, the moral of the story is, we can say so many morals. For example, we should make peaceful situation, or we should be always calm, or we should think cleverly according to the situation, and we should know how to handle the bad situation. So children, this is what through this story we have learned today. So okay, children, I hope you will understood this story. If you want to more detailing, you can refer the textbook 1 or 2 times, read out the books. Okay, children, thanks for watching. Bye.